Hi everyone, welcome to another video. Bird photography is a wonderful hobby, but it has a steep learning curve. How many times have you looked at your photos and compared them to someone else's and said to yourself, why don't my photos look like that? Years of experience have taught me some hard lessons about bird photography, and that's what I hope to share with you today. I'm going to share with you the top 5 mistakes that I see beginner and intermediate bird photographers make and what to do about it. I'm going to share with you why these are issues, what you can do about it, and the techniques and strategies that pros use to avoid these. So one mistake I see people making is not properly planning their bird photography shoots. Before I go out on location, I know where I'm going, I know what I'm likely to find there, I know the direction of the sun, I know the wind, I know the tides, and I know the weather. I also know when sunrise and sunset are going to take place. These are critical to understanding what you're going to find, where you're going to find it, and setting up proper conditions to make sure you can get great photos. For example, at this beach location, I knew it would be cloudy today, which would be very helpful so I'm not shooting into the rising sun over the water. I also know it's going to be calm, so I can get down low on the beach to shoot sandpipers without getting big crashing waves in my way. I also know when sunrise is going to be because I want to be here early in the morning when the birds are most active. For a seaside location, you also want to know what the tides are going to be because bird behaviors around tides changes depending on the species. High tide will bring the birds up closer to shore, more easily accessible for photography, and right after high tide, when the water retreats, it leaves food on the beach for the birds to find. I have my phone full of apps to understand all these conditions. I have an app for the weather, I have an app for the wind, I have an app for the tide, I also have an app that tells me when sunrise and sunset are going to be. I also have a knowledge that I've picked up over the years of what species I'm likely to find at what locations in what seasons. You can find information about birds at ebird.org. That's a citizen science project run by Cornell University that records bird sightings. Understanding sunrise and sunset, the location of the sun compared to your location are very important. Often you want to have the sun behind your back, fully illuminating your subjects. At a seaside location where I'm shooting into the water and I want to shoot ducks out in the water, for example, I need the sun to be behind me. It can't be rising over the ocean in front of me. That will backlight my subjects, which can work in the first 15 minutes of sunrise and sunset, but after that, you're just going to have too difficult conditions for photography. So plan in your locations with the sun will be behind you. Also, the wind is important. Large birds like to take off and land into the wind, and ducks in the water like to bob facing the wind. In the seaside location, I need the wind coming from the land out to sea if I want bobbing birds to be facing me, and if I want birds to be taking off and landing in my direction, which makes for much better photos. For mammals like foxes that have a keen sense of smell, you actually want the wind in your face. If you're upwind from many mammals, they'll be able to smell you and you won't be able to get close. Now, there's nothing wrong with just going for a nice walk in the woods and bringing your camera along and just hoping to find something. But if you want to have great photos consistently, some planning of knowing which species you can find where, understanding the weather conditions, the wind, the sunrise and sunset, as well as the weather, will greatly improve your odds of not just finding birds, but getting good photos of them. The next mistake I see people making is not being able to change their settings quickly, on the fly, or without taking their eye out of the viewfinder. This is critical for getting good shots and never missing the action. Very often I'm out with other photographers where some quick action happens. I get a photo, I turn to my friend and say, "Did you get that?" They said, "No, I didn't have my settings right." Or, "No, I was playing with my settings." Or they were looking at their photos at the back of the camera, often because they'd had problems with their previous photos because their settings weren't right. It's important to be able to change the settings on your camera with a minimum of fuss and preferably without even taking the eye out of the viewfinder. Knowing how to change your shutter speed, your aperture, and your ISO on the fly will net you lots of great shots. If you have a camera with enough buttons and dials to set aperture, ISO, and shutter speed independently, that's the best scenario. But not all cameras have that. In this case, auto ISO is your friend. If you want to shoot on manual, set your shutter speed at the shutter speed you need to freeze some action, choose the aperture that's sharpest for your lens, and let the camera pick the ISO. If the action is happening quickly, increase the shutter speed. If the action is slowing down, you can lower the shutter speed. You don't need to change any other settings. Many modern cameras allow you to change the functions of dials and buttons to your liking. Use this to your advantage to set the dials and buttons that are at easy reach to some of these key settings that you need to change the most often. In my experience, you don't need to change the aperture very often in bird photography. Set the aperture at its sharpest. Then all you need to change is the shutter speed based on the speed of your action. Let Auto ISO pick your ISO for you. By the way, if this is content that you really like and is worthy of your support, I'd really appreciate a subscribe and to like this video. The next mistake I see beginner and intermediate photographers make very often is shooting in the full bright sun. Often when I'm asked to critique photos, the major issue is it's shot at midday. The bright sun will wash out all your highlights and really kill the color in your photo. In my location, after 90 minutes or 2 hours after sunrise, or prior to 2 hours before sunset, if the sun is out, it's just too bright for me. At midsummer in my location, sun comes up at 5:30. By 8 o'clock, I'm packing up and going home. I often meet people in the parking lot heading out to take some photography at the same time that I'm leaving. Once the sun comes up, for me, I'm either heading home or heading under the canopy of the trees in the shade. While in the shade, you have to deal with high ISOs because there's less light. It's still much better than the full bright sun, washed out, overexposed photos. Here's some photos that are taken just when it's too bright. The highlights are all overexposed. There's no color. It just doesn't make an attractive photo. Now here's a photo taken under the canopy of the trees in the shade during midday. It still makes a very, very nice photo. The best light that's the least harsh is in the first 2 hours of the day and the last 2 hours of the day. If you want to go to a location where you want to shoot all day, pick a cloudy day. That way you can shoot all day. If you pick a sunny day, you've got 2 good hours early in the morning, 2 good hours late in the day, and the midday is gone. At this location, after I'm done shooting this video, I wanted to take some more bird photos. I came specifically on a cloudy day so I could keep shooting past mid-morning. If one of these tips worked for you, I'd love to know. Put it in the comments below. I'm sure other viewers would love to know what worked. The next mistake I see people making is undervaluing the importance of the background in their photo. The background is part of the photo as well. The bird often occupies a very small part of the frame, and the background is as important as the bird. Professional bird photographers spend as much time looking at the background as the subject, and they reposition themselves sideways if they can to try to get the background they want behind the bird. You can accomplish this by moving up, down, left, right, and if the bird is patient enough, repositioning yourself not to get closer, but to change the background. One example is shooting some sandpipers on the beach here. If I shoot from the beach down at the sandpipers, I'll just get seaweed as a background, which is not particularly pretty. I'm going to reposition myself a little bit lower on the beach, try to shoot sideways along the beach, and see if I can get a cleaner background that's more pleasing to the eye than just raw seaweed. As you can see by the photos I'll show you next, by getting down low, I was able to shoot the sandpipers with a background more pleasant, more out of focus, more distant. It makes for a much more pleasant photo than when I shot down on the sandpipers that really had a background that was full of seaweed, and it was very busy, and the bird really didn't stand out in the photo. Now, I don't want to imply that all your bird photos have to have a clean background. Often getting a pleasant background made up of patterns, colors, different light can really add a lot to your photo. So be creative and try to find interesting ways to get really neat backgrounds to back up your birds. My getting down low just a moment ago actually achieved 2 purposes. Number 1, it cleaned up the background, but number 2, I got to eye level with the bird. And that's the next tip I'm going to give you. Another mistake I see people making very often is their photos are not shot at eye level with the bird. The bird photo really needs to be at eye level to feel intimate and to make it feel like you're part of the same scene with the bird. If the bird is on the ground, you should get on the ground with them. If the bird is in a tree, you should find a way to get some elevation, or you should go scouting for birds in areas where you're more likely to see them at eye level, like areas where there are low brush rather than simply tall trees. In the tall trees, you're going to end up shooting the bellies of the birds, If the birds are on the ground and you're not on the ground, you're just going to be shooting their backs with very busy backgrounds. Professional photographers make sure they don't wear their good clothes when they're out birding, because they're laying on the ground, lying in the mud, climbing trees and rocks, trying to get the right angle to make sure you're at eye level with your subject. I hope you can use these tips to go out your very next outing and take better bird photos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.